Good Wednesday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. A glorious day to be alive in Charlottesville and Albemarle County in Central Virginia. Of course, we're live across the Commonwealth, the world, on the I Love CVille Network. Today's show is going to be dynamite, and by dynamite, I mean fire, fire, fire.
Yes, it is.
Oh, right. I love when they talk to her in the intro. I love that right there. In a matter of moments, we're going to introduce you to three badass women, and I say that with confidence. I say that with chutzpah. Badass women on set here on the I Love CVille Network. Before we do, we'll pay some of the bills. We'll give some props to Dr. Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Dr. Wagner is changing people's lives at his practice, Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner has your back. And of course, the folks at Ting Fiber Internet power our building here, the Macklin Building, and power this network, the I Love CVille Network. Judah Wickower is our North Star. Judah Wickower, why don't we go to the studio camera? You wave your hand in the air so they can see the back of that handsome head of yours. Right there's Judah Wickower. And now we see the beautiful ladies on set. Kelli Palmer, que pasa?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Elizabeth Douty.
Hello.
Allison Egidi.
Hey there.
In the house as well. Ladies, I'm going to stop talking and you guys are going to shine. We will start with this fabulously dressed woman, Kelli Palmer, about an introduction for you, for everyone that's watching.
All right, Kelli Palmer. I am known by some for my day job, but for today, I'm here as just me, mother of four, Ellie, Emma, Liam, Kalani, wife of James.
I love James.
Oh,
I might see James tomorrow. I hope I do.
4 kids. Yeah. I might like James. And we, in addition to doing the things we do during the day job, I also am an entrepreneur, and I have a business called Idea Minds. IDEA stands for inclusion, diversity, equity, accountability, all the fun things. Or not, depending on who you are, but you should have me come help you then for sure. And on the side, I do a bit of volunteering. I might care a little bit about the environment. I'm on the board of C3 and Peabody and PVCC's foundation board. Having a little fun, loving Charlottesville, year 21.
You are phenomenal. Our friends on set, also phenomenal. I see Chris Douty is watching the program. Hello, Big C. Welcome to the show. Elizabeth, you take charge here. Introduce yourself to everybody.
All right. I'm Elizabeth Douty. Just got married last year, so I have a little trouble with remembering the new name or what my name is nowadays. But I am a mom. I've got 2 kids. Isla, she's 6.5, almost 7, and James, little baby James. No, he's not even little. This massive baby, 6-month-old. He's amazing. He's the happiest kid in the world. I do a day job. I've got my 9 to 5 here in Charlottesville, and I've started branching out at the young age of 35 to start something new. I'm trying out sales. I found a business that I love in the CBD industry that's blowing up, so I couldn't be more thrilled to come and talk about that today and just everything that we're doing as moms.
I love it, and that's really what we want to highlight. These moms rule the world. Once I saw my little boy come out of my wife, I realized that I do not have her strength, I do not have her power, and that women should undoubtedly rule the world. Here's
Truth.
one that certainly should rule the world. She may rule the household, she may rule the neighborhood, she should do a hell of a lot more than that. She's fabulous. Allison, an intro for you.
Great, thank you. I'm Allison Egidi. I'm a pediatric sleep coach, and my business is Sleep and Wellness Coach. I have 2 daughters. Ainsley is 6, almost 7, and Addison is 8. And Addison was the inspiration for the business because she did not sleep until she was 2.
Oh, wow. Wow, okay, we'll dig deep into that. We'll welcome NBC 29 and CBS 19 to the show. We love when you guys watch the program here. All right, so we got to start with the topic that's already coming in on Facebook and Twitter, and it's how did the moms manage COVID? Why don't we start with that one?
Oh my. So first I should say thank you so much for having us, and a shout out to my new neighbors and mom friends. We all live in the same neighborhood, and I just joined less than 8 weeks ago, and I feel like it was something to join. So before I was a part of that neighborhood, we lived close to town. We lived off Barracks Road, and COVID happened, we brought in my mother-in-law who was living alone. We thought, you shouldn't be out there foraging for yourself when people are sick, and you could just by going to the grocery store. So she came in to be with us, which made us a house of 7.
Wow.
And so it was a house full, and we all worked from home. And a little ways in, James had a choice around employment, and he was the person who stayed at home with the kids because somebody had to get them on and off all the Zoom calls and in and out of all the chat rooms.
That's a lot of kids.
And it's a lot of kids. And oh, by the way, they are now 2.5, 5, and 7. So they were 1.5, 4, and 6. So that was a handful. And to make it all work, I founded a business. So we were definitely doing very little during the pandemic. And we survived by doing nothing.
I love it. And you know what? We'll give her props with the sound machine. That's good.
What is this?
There we go. And I hope James is watching. James, I love you, dude. I love you, James. You're the man. Elizabeth, the same question for you. Managing COVID.
I had a different experience
Okay.
because I was pregnant. I was one of the pregnant moms during COVID. And so as I mentioned, we got married last January. We did the small wedding before it was cool, before it was like COVID chic, right? And then we decided that we were going to do everything. Okay, well, I shouldn't say we. Chris is watching. I decided probably. He would have waited on some of these things. But, you know, I was like, I want to have my baby right away so that there's not too big of a gap between my kids. And it was a brand new situation for everybody. The doctors, the nurses, myself, my friends. So trying to manage my own fears about it, being pregnant, and
expectations maybe.
Well, and I tend to go, you know, I'm like I commit, so I was like, didn't want to go anywhere, you know, and my husband's more social than I am, so it's trying to rein him in too, so that we were protecting the baby. And then, you know, we had the kid that was doing the homeschooling in kindergarten. We finished that up. He's working from home now. I'm working from home now. We've got the child in school on Zoom. We were in a smaller townhouse on Pantops, and you know what? I was like, we need space. This is the time. So we threw in a move while I was pregnant during COVID and our newlywed year. So it was a lot, but it was a learning experience. We made it through. Relied heavily on just our inner circle because, you know, again, I was very protective of that. So family, keeping it close-knit, but wonderful, wonderful care here in Charlottesville throughout the pregnancy.
Great answer right there. I see a Michael Egidi on Twitter right now. We're live on all social platforms. I don't want to assume, so I ask. I would imagine that is your man over there.
That's my man.
Giving you some props in the Twitter sphere. If you want to give the ladies props, put it in the feed. Warrenta Man is giving you some props right now on your page. I see 3 states watching the show. Allison, I'm going to get out of your way. How'd you manage a pandemic of generational proportions?
I learned that I'm a good coach, but a terrible teacher.
Yes.
Disastrous teacher. Oh my gosh, homeschooling and I did not get along well. And I know that's a controversial term. Maybe we were homeschooling, maybe we were observing. I don't know what it was.
Virtual.
But it was not my strength, particularly with one of my children, who she and I are pretty similar. So we just, did a little headbutting right away. And I just threw in the towel. So I just, at some point, I don't remember how many weeks in, I'm like, and first grade is done. Okay, we're wrapping that up. And then I quickly came up with a strategy to get her into school next year because I'm a big believer in knowing our strengths and our weaknesses. And I quickly realized this was not going to be a strength in our house. So we got her into school. So it took a little adjusting of attempting homeschooling and then kiboshing it. It took a little adjusting of Mike and I learning to both work at home. I had been working at home, but he had not, and I fared better than he did initially, but he got on board. So then we hunkered down. But see, I felt very lucky to live in our neighborhood because we had all the walking trails and paths, so we spent a lot of time outside. And I don't know if everyone remembers, we had glorious weather.
Yeah.
So we were so blessed here with the weather. to be able to be outside. And then I also learned that there is an introvert side of me because I did not suffer tremendously.
Me
So
either.
the introvert in me was like, oh, this isn't so bad. I'm okay with that.
Why don't we go down that road? Because I would say, in describing each of you, that you guys have a gift for human connection, and you're very outgoing, very pleasant, very social, like to be around other people. So how did you guys manage, well, it sounds like you managed it extremely well. I found a lot of the pandemic to be rather lonely at times, because I love being around others.
I would have never guessed that
Which
about you.
I would describe that with you guys.
Yeah, Mr. Charlottesville.
I mean, I think found a whole new space to enjoy with people in the virtual world. I started a children's book club for our now 5 and 7-year-old that includes people in other states. I founded a women's book club around diversity topics that includes some of my favorite people over the course of my life who had never met. And we're planning like an in-person reunion because people are
that's good.
vaxxed and ready to party. I found it cut out the travel time, and I could send someone a note and no one was doing anything and be like, hey, let's get up for virtual drinks. It wasn't like putting on an outfit and leaving your house, but being in community with people who historically hadn't had time, or I hadn't had time. I mean, I was all over the world, traveling for work, doing all kinds of things. I got to be a Girl Scout leader. It was virtual Girl Scouts, but it was Girl Scouts nonetheless. It was kind of maybe fun. Am I supposed to say that?
You can say that. Would you do it again?
You know, I don't wish
Girl Scouts are
illness
calling
on
her.
the world, but I don't mind this different life that we observed over the last year. It taught me some stuff, and it created a space for my family in particular that I don't know that I would have had the opportunity to enjoy.
Ladies, anywhere you want to go?
See,
Jump in, don't wait for my
Yeah,
prompt.
no, I considered myself an introvert. I know you think I'm social. Maybe some people around the neighborhood think
We
I'm
do?
social.
Yes.
Yeah. I think this is a new persona I'm developing, and I think it was largely in part to this COVID world. And I kind of got that sense of what does this feel like without people, right? And at first I'm okay with it, right? And I like being in my house, and I like doing home projects and everything like that. But I really missed that connection, and I think I'm going like full force in it now. And so, especially starting with the CBD sales with Green Compass, it's all about social selling and making those connections with people and listening. So I've really had to put myself out there, and I think it's fun. It's just like developing. I think it's never too late to kind of develop who you are, continuously growing as a person. And even pre-COVID, I will say, like, you know, I had a lot of struggles. I was a single mom for 6 years. And so going through those challenges, I had a lot of focus on that and the challenges that come with that. And so now that I'm in this better space, I feel like it's easier for me to connect with people. It's easier for me to listen to other people's problems now that I'm happier in a better space, because it was draining on me before. And I think COVID kind of did the same thing.
Respect.
Yeah.
I appreciate that vulnerability there.
Thanks.
Very nicely done. Allison, what's on that big, beautiful brain over there?
Well, I am an extrovert, but I
Big time.
refuel as an introvert.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I actually got great sleep the first few weeks and re-energized. And I realized I have more of an introvert in me than I previously knew. But I do love to socialize, but I have found it exhausting to get back to socializing post getting vaccinated and everyone getting out. I feel way more drained after events. But
Did you lose your ability to have casual conversation? Because I can't anymore. Like, I can't
talking
talk
the
to you
weather
about
talk?
the weather.
Yeah.
I can't talk to
yeah.
you tacitly about politics. I can't do any of it.
I know, we have to learn this
we have
again.
to practice.
Jerry's like, come on a podcast, just talk. I'm like, I don't know if I can.
Well, you're doing a hell of a job. You're getting props from Arkansas. We have 6 states now watching. Is it Demetria Edwards?
That is one of my cousins from the book club. We were both born in Arkansas.
That's what she says. Tuning in from Arkansas, my dear cousin, Dr. Kelli Palmer, has been managing life in generational proportions way before the pandemic. And she said, way, with 6 Y's after it. I know the pandemic was challenging, but I know for sure that she was exceptionally skilled to manage the generational aspect of this pandemic challenge. Giving you some props from Arkansas, North Carolina, Tennessee, Maryland, and Georgia watching. Eileen Watchko.
Yes.
Giving you some props.
A fellow mama,
There you
holding
go.
it down.
Okay, why don't we do this? What is it like to be a mom in 2021? The pandemic is maybe in the rearview mirror. We're knocking on wood here. Ladies, you want to start? And I'm done talking. So you guys cut me out here.
I'll dive in.
Yeah, go for it.
I think there's no right way to do it.
Okay.
Truth.
So when people ask me about being a working mom and being a mom in general, I just think there's no right way. So for some people, the right way is going to be to stay home, and that's what's best for them, best for their kids. For some people, it's going to be to dive all in on work and get support with your family. For some, it's going to be part-time, your own business, working for a corporation. I don't think there's a right answer, and it's very specific to you and your family unit.
Very
and
true.
I think that is where we're headed, hopefully, to no right answer.
What do you think?
I couldn't have said it better. I think it's been a struggle. I think we're getting out. I was talking with Allison at the pool the other day, and I was curious about her business and what impact it had on her business, because
It was booming.
a customer of Allison's. We had little baby James, and when you're at home as a mom and a working mom or whatever kind of mom you are, or a parent in general, and all of a sudden, like, you're not getting sleep. That was a huge challenge for us in general. And I that's what I was saying to Allison. I was like, you must have had so many people in this transition be like, I need this. Like, this is more crucial than ever. And
Trying to work from home made it very challenging if your child didn't sleep.
Well, how
Yes.
about this one? And my wonderful wife is watching. I see you, sweetheart. So I'm choosing my words very carefully.
Hi,
She
Lauren.
says, you all look super amazing, strong, powerful women, she says. And she does the muscle emoji on the feed. 7 states watching. I see the questions coming in from Twitter and LinkedIn. We will get to them in a matter of moments. How about this one for you? Vulnerability, fear, unknown, uncertainty, what's next? I remember in the beginning of this pandemic, when I was going grocery shopping, I was very much encouraged by my wife, and I say it like that, very much encouraged by my wife, to wear the gloves, the super deluxe mask, and when we went to the
I love your
grocery
wife.
store- She's amazing. She's
blessed.
watching. She's watching. When the groceries came back, we had to leave the bags and the groceries in the garage.
sanitize
We had to
them.
wipe down
Yes.
the boxes.
Yes.
I
You and
had-
I could have lived
I
together.
had to take my clothes off. We thought the COVID was on the bottom of the shoes.
Yes.
Remember we thought
Yes.
The COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't know what we didn't know, my friend.
We had exactly. Hey, everybody.
We
had
were
their own
handling
rights,
it, okay?
Right? You guys, we were handling it. How about managing the vulnerability, the fear, and the uncertainty?
I think it puts everything into perspective. So I was totally on team your wife.
Okay.
Let's be clear. It was all the things, and we had a procurement situation in our household, and then we wrote notes to other people in the neighborhood because our old neighborhood was filled with people who should not be out. So we were doing lots of shopping, and we were doing lots of sanitizing.
For them.
Yes,
Sure.
for
Oh,
other
that's
people.
so good.
I mean, we offered. It was an interesting time, right? The community needed to come together.
Yes.
And that puts so much into perspective. I have been planning my business for 10 years. And all of a sudden, there was very little that was scarier than death. I mean, let's just be real about that. So why not start a thing? And the other side of that, to feed off of this other question that we just discussed about the kids and managing the kids during this time, our kids don't have vaccines yet.
Yeah.
And so while I'm long vaccinated and the adults in our household are, and there's a wonderful feeling about that, and every part of my extroverted self is like, I'm
Let's
out,
go.
like, let's get it. The rest of me is like, no, there are these 3 humans that we have to provide a safety bubble around. And so who are you? Where are we going to be? Are we going to be outside? There was a little neighborhood party the other night, and Elizabeth and I were talking in front of the house, and I was like, now, I don't know if I'm going to be in the house with these people. I don't know if they've been vaccinated, and the kids and the babies, and we need to be outside under something. Maybe I'm just not sure. And that is exactly how I'm thinking about all the spaces still. So I watch people have the freedom of being vaccinated, And I have this sort of ever-present bubble over here about the risk and the variance in the kids and when that's going to happen. So totally released me professionally, but I am still wholly momming as I throw on my mask before I go into the corner store down here, and no one else has one on, and people are looking at me like, "You not vaxxed?"
You and I could shop together.
I got babies.
You got babies?
Yeah, I think the decisions were heavy. So back to I joke about I sent my kids to school. There was a lot of thought that went into that, and I remember telling my dad, this could either be the best decision I've ever made or the biggest mistake of my life. Because at the time, sending kids to school, it was like, well, we don't know. Do the kids get it? Do they not get it? Do they spread it? We're not sure. And I ultimately decided to send the kids to in-person school. But that's another decision where I felt like, okay, there probably is no right answer. And it weighed on me heavily. And it turned, now I look back, I'm like, well, it was a great decision.
Right.
But at
Shout out to schools.
Yeah, schools is coming up on LinkedIn.
Shout
At
out.
the time, it was very hard to make that decision. It felt very heavy. And I still feel that way too. My kids do not dine inside.
Yep.
And so I'm also still, my husband will tell you, I'm still a little, locking everyone down.
But I think the biggest thing is respecting each other's boundaries and their wishes, because everybody is somewhere different on the scale of the COVID scale about how cautious you are, even with the developments and vaccines and whatever may come across with new information. You have to let people take the time to digest it, process it themselves, and they may get there later, they may not. But I think and I hope that during this time we're all learning to respect each other's wishes. And if it has no impact on you, who are you to say something? That's my opinion.
Let it go.
Yeah.
I'm there with you insofar as it doesn't relate to my tiny humans. So if anybody wants to play with Ellie, Emma, or Liam, they will be outside at the pool or outside at Triple C or outside.
Right.
That's how we're doing the summer of 2021. Outside. It's tough.
And we've had to have those conversations with the kids when they're like, "Can I go in and see her room? I want to go and see," And
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Like,
we're next door neighbors, for those who don't know.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, next door neighbors. So I'm going to get to some of the comments that are coming in, and you're going to have to help me with this name. Is it Hake?
Oh, Heike
Heike.
Gregosian.
Watching right now.
Oh.
Single and childless, but I'm tuning in to hear from my friend Kelli.
Heike's awesome. The ultimate UVA athletics fan and ultra runner around Charlottesville.
Giving you props, Kate Duvall, giving you props.
Yes.
If you have questions or comments for the ladies, put them in the feed. This is coming from Tracy. Tracy says, I am so social and I hated being at home. I work at a school and I missed all the students. Things were not the same. The unknown was so scary. I did a lot of online shopping and spent a lot of money.
Yes.
She says the unknown is so scary. So on LinkedIn, 8 states watching you guys here. On LinkedIn, one of the messages was about education. And if you're worried or concerned that your little guys or little gals are not where they should be, education-wise.
They'll be fine.
Okay.
I'm a deep believer that they'll be fine. Now, let me also qualify this.
Sure.
My kids were at Peabody School. They were out for that spring rest of the semester, and we're very fortunate through amazing leadership. Hats off to Rob, our head of school. They were in all this year. That said, even when we lost that spring semester, and be clear, James, was focused on them and trying to help them, but the teaching did not agree with us either. And we just decided they were learning other lessons. They were learning about resiliency. They were learning about self-care. My folks can sing a song and wash between every single finger, and they know that, particulates, and they know about airborne illness, and they know about a bunch of things that are not on the first grade SOLs, but they're on the life survival guide.
Right, which more in the grand scheme of things.
Hello?
Right.
And they got all kinds of love and all kinds of attention, and we learned that taking walks was gonna be the fun for the day.
Yeah.
And we learned that, seeing people on the Zoom and celebrating birthdays with same decorations in 4 states could be epic. Coping skills, They'll be fine.
And there was a huge difference between, when the teachers and the school systems were thrown into it last year and then they had the summer to prepare.
Yeah.
I feel like we were very fortunate. My daughter did very well. She's a little social butterfly.
She is.
Oh, yes. She
looks exactly like you. It's your mini-me.
Mini-me,
Yeah,
yes.
right. Yeah.
She's the cutest. But she did well in that. And I understand that there were children who did not. And the camera was awkward and the Zooms were awkward. We were fortunate. She did very well. And I cannot say enough. We switched schools too. So we went from Stony Point to Stone Robinson. I always get those confused. So shout out to the teachers at Stone Robinson. They did such a phenomenal job. Even gym class over Zoom was something that she looked forward to, an art class. And she would get off those calls and we just kept the reading going every night. I feel like that's one of the most important things you can do with your kids. And to see her from the start of first grade to when we did go back in March in person, but just in that little window of time, how much she was able to advance through virtual learning, I thought that they did a phenomenal job. And again, that's not everybody's experience, but I was very happy with it.
Yay, teachers.
Yes.
Yay, schools.
Well, my kids are fine. They went to in-person school. It was great.
Your husband has a message for you. He is watching. He says, don't worry, I was just a few minutes late to drop off Addison at school.
Oh,
right
no.
now. Okay.
You're going to get a call from the teachers
Oh,
now.
yeah. Picking her up
Doing
from-
some process, maybe
She's at
booking your
creative
flights.
writing camp.
Oh, picking up Addison. He says picking up.
Yeah, he's picking her up.
Yeah, picking up.
So my kids are going to be fine. We got them into school, but I can tell you that I don't care what the teachers did. It would not have been a good year if my one daughter in particular had been home learning virtually. And
Isn't
I
it
know
the difference between the kids too.
Yeah, one was doing fine virtually, and I know I hear from friends who really struggled this past year. So I do have concerns for education at all ages, and what I think next year will be very telling as kids go back to school of how big that learning gap is and how the massive job the teachers have to meet all of those needs. So this is something I lose a little sleep over, actually, not because of my own kids, but just in general and what I hear. I'm anxious to see how next year plays out, not just locally, I think globally.
Really good points, but at least they're not competing against people who were magically somehow in a much better situation. That's my one happy thought about it all, is like, well, the playing field's fairly level for everyone. We all just took it to the chin for a year and a half.
Well, except for the kids that went to private school.
Well, they went.
I mean, then we kind
but
of
I
are on
think
a
it was a
different.
little funky in that space too.
Yeah.
You couldn't have certain classes. You could. Yes, there is definitely a scale of opportunity that occurred, but I think that scale exists in society regularly,
Yes.
and I feel like we were all kind of batted down or off or whatever the symbolism is for that year and a half.
So maybe the scale was not as steep during COVID as it was pre-COVID.
I think it was rough.
It might be getting
like,
steeper.
Who had
The gap
access
might
to
be getting
internet? Who had somebody to help them get on and off? I think
You have a lot of working parents, so I would have had the luxury that I could have stayed home and do it. But I always said, what about let's just say you work at UVA, you have to be in there at the hospital. Who is getting your 7-year-old, if you don't have grandparents or anything, who's getting your 7-year-old on to virtual learning? Because I had to sit with my first grader, my kindergartner, to get them on. And so I just thought it was a huge, heavy haul for people, and there were people who couldn't make it all happen. So I worry about those kids.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anecdotally, I worry about that gap.
Okay, so we have 11 states watching. I'm going to get to this comment, Tracy. I'm going to get to the comments on LinkedIn and Twitter. Javella Yates, you are so awesome. Aww. Kelly.
Where's my husband? Why isn't he? Or my mom? She watches
Your
this.
husband's watching as you
my
speak?
husband's at a massage.
look
If
okay.
that makes you
When?
feel any
Where
better.
are you?
Her husband's watching, and multiple people are asking to talk about the dynamic between husband and wife as we spent more time.
Are they really?
than-
Or are you asking that?
You want to see it here? I'm happy to show it to you. So Kristen Longhauser Smith, these women
We know her.
Yes, we
Yes.
know.
are apps. Do I know her? She's
Yes.
Oh, I do know her. Hello. Good to see you. Okay, so this one right here is from Tracy. She says, we spent more time than ever before with our spouses.
Yes.
Please talk about that, ladies. Who wants to start? 2 of their 3 spouses are watching right now. James is getting his body worked on right now at a masseuse, right? Is that right?
I mean, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
He's earned being at the masseuse.
Yeah.
He's there right now?
He's there right now.
Lucky man.
We reshuffled responsibilities, and we had to ebb and flow, and it definitely took a little work. You know, we had a premarital negotiation. I think you all know, but maybe they don't. We're a second marriage for him and for me, so we had done it, and we knew exactly what we did and didn't want in the normal times. And so in the normal times, like, I was all laundry and he was all cooking, or however it was going to work. And then we were at home, where every single solitary meal ever was at home. Perhaps that wasn't the job he wanted 100% anymore. You know, we had to roll with it, and we had to find ways and spaces to create life and appreciation for each other in ways that you can't do when you can't have date night out of your house.
Yeah, well said.
And I think on the other side of it, I'm like, oh, we handled 2020, we're good.
That's
Yes,
totally.
Right, you're saying you're closer than ever?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So Mike did the sideways mouth emoji when this topic came up here. Basically the oh shit emoji. Here we go. There we go. I love you, Mike. I love you.
All right, unfiltered.
There
What's your
we
take
go.
on it?
Well, it's interesting because people would guess, if you knew us, that he is the introvert and I'm the extrovert. But when this all went down, the extrovert of him was panicking because he actually, even though he's not a yapper like I am, he likes to be out and about.
Play sports, play tennis. Yeah,
he likes to be doing all the things. So he started to panic, and there was a moment, I don't know if it was 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, where I'm like, you gotta get it together. I already got 2 of these people at home. I can't have a third one unraveling. And to his credit, he pulled it together, and he adjusted because he had been going into the office. You know, so he adjusted to working from home, and you know, we powered through. We found a new rhythm. So we would do Friday date. Once carryout came back, hallelujah.
Yeah.
We would do Friday night carryout, where we let the kids eat pizza in front of the TV, which we never do. We're pretty anti that. And so they would eat pizza and watch TV, and we would eat carryout.
Like your husband.
I think that's his feelings, that he thinks it sucks. So we found kind of a new normal, and that helped once we got new rhythm, because you're right, the weekly date night was gone, and so we kind of created a new normal. But then we kind of settled in, and I will say just kind of became a new normal, which was weird and creepy. But we settled in, and it was fine. But it was a little touch and go initially.
So I know her man Chris well, and Chris is watching the program. I'm a big fan of all 3 of their husbands. Cut to the chase.
Because they're awesome.
They are awesome people. They are awesome people. You guys, I'm gonna stipulate this question with the fact that I have some background on you guys.
Okay.
So you guys work the 9 to 5 very close to each other in the house.
Well, I mean, when we were in the townhouse, it was real close.
Okay. So when you moved, you got a little more breathing room.
We did, and
How about that? The proximity of work and the dynamic with the marriage.
When we were touring homes, and that's a whole nother topic of the market and the buying a house in this. But that was one of our big things, was that we could have separate space, and not everybody has that luxury. But we're fortunate enough where we could find a place that. I have my own office that I've just added doors to, because that's another thing. The kid comes in, yes. He's got his space in the basement that I try and respect. Kelli saw it the other day. It was a disaster, but I went in and cleaned it up. So that I try and respect his space and make sure that, when Isla comes home from school, she's not running down there immediately, because that's hard. It's hard to think of it as a work day sometime and respect those boundaries when you're in the same space. So I will say I think we've done really well, considering it was our first year of marriage, in the pandemic, and everything that we threw on top
and
of that.
And a baby.
Yeah.
The baby.
And a house.
The move, new jobs, and my husband.
That's for real. That's like serious.
Yes,
for real,
and he's
right?
working.
That was a really short honeymoon phase you had.
We didn't even take one, but it was like we got like 2 weeks, and then pandemic hit. So, but I will say he's a hard worker. He's starting his new venture, and he's doing the workday gig, and so he's working long hours. And so that was the other thing is childcare. You know, we couldn't have anybody come into the house with the newborn, and even just with Isla before. So that all fell on us as a couple too. And so I don't know if he knew going into it that all of a sudden he would be thrust into this life with a stepchild. I mean, he knew she was there, obviously.
Yeah. And she's great.
She is
And they
great.
have a great relationship.
Oh,
yeah.
it is. I have just the most special place in my heart for step parents because not everybody has that relationship. And he's been around her since she was 2.5 years old. She likes to look back at pictures and see how their relationship has grown. Aww. But she got more time with him. She got to build that bond with him being home in the house and, you know, stepdad being around. And you know, that was a whole nother, going back to like some of the things that were scary. You know, we did the co-parenting thing. So my child's father is in Virginia Beach. So Virginia Beach, you know, was like a little bit of a hot spot too. So it was like that unnerving feeling of sending your child somewhere, and you know, not everybody has the same views, you know, even in the household, or let alone different households. So sending your child out into the world and just having to put that trust in other people too, it was scary, but we made it through, and everybody stayed healthy, and so
there you go.
It's good.
Yes.
It's good. Life is good.
So I'll acknowledge some of the comments coming in, and then we'll get to the questions coming in. Vince Schaff. I'm tuned in from Fort Collins, Colorado.
Yes,
So-
we were semester at sea together.
He's watching in Fort Collins.
You've done everything.
I've had 99 lives, and you shall never know all of them.
Kelli Holler. He says Kelli is one of the most incredible people. I was fortunate to work with her years ago. The pandemic was an opportunity for us with the son home from college to spend time together. Mm-hmm. We would not have had that. We are grateful for that.
Yes.
So how about the comments that are coming in about...
By the way, we have a 19-year-old that was home during the pandemic. That's the fourth one, and the stepchild. So I will just throw that in, that, you know, someone coming into their own, I will respect her privacy, but she was definitely becoming a collegiate woman and in the household with us and navigating that, not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, because you got the young ones too.
Yeah.
How about the comment coming in from Sarasota, Florida? Sarasota, Florida says, Jerry, I love your show. UVA grad, please ask these ladies who I do not know how they maintain their confidence, because they appear to be so confident throughout all this.
Wahoo wah.
Yeah.
Go Hokies, I'll just
Yeah,
throw that out there.
But these are three brilliant women. You got
We'll
UVA,
forgive you.
UVA,
Yes.
Virginia Tech here, three brilliant women. How about maintaining the confidence during all this?
Oh,
Did it
gosh.
waver at all?
Heck yeah.
Okay, Sarasota wants to know.
Yes. So you're talking about confidence during the pandemic.
Yeah, confidence through the pandemic and even to this point. I mean, people are just looking for, I think, like, I mean, the cool thing about this is, you know, folks are a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
So they take what they want from the podcast and usually apply it to themselves in some way.
Sure.
Trying
I think
something new.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
but
go.
trying something new really helped me, and putting yourself out there. And this, I've been nervous about this all week. But doing something that is out of your comfort zone, and I think we all had to do that in the last year and try new things and figure out new ways of doing things. I think that's really helped me. And Instagram.
She loves Instagram. Yeah.
She's
I'm
the queen of
such a
social
nerd
media.
on
Yeah.
there. But you get that, if you get a little reinforcement of somebody who's like, oh my gosh, that's so funny, I think that helps build you up too. So
there's some studies on this.
Oh, we can go down that road if you want.
I'm my own
Okay, so
study.
my kids showed me this study,
Okay.
which it always freaks me out when they show up with something. So I'm like, how are you finding this stuff? But on their kids' YouTube, you know, it was a study on if they took an elephant and a giraffe, and then they gave one 1,000 likes and one 3 likes, and then they showed it to the kids and said, which one do you like better? The kid is always going to choose the one, not always. It was very high percentage. They had the most likes, which is so interesting. So my
Regressing
kids
towards the mean.
they were asking about this. Like, oh, I saw this on this YouTube channel. Anyway,
but I will say, so getting into social selling, that has taught me that you don't get a lot of likes on some things that may be informational. And so you have to deal with that too, where it's like, why don't they like me? Or what's going on? Or what didn't they take from this? And so I think sharing that with your kids too, that a like isn't validation, or it's not that you didn't get your message across too. It's this whole social media world that is, you might be there with the 19-year-old and your children are about to be, we're not there yet. So I feel like I still have some time to navigate through that.
Social media was danger, but I mean, that's a topic that people probably don't want to go on with me about during a social media broadcast, because we didn't allow it. Our teenager got a phone right around the time she was graduating from high school.
Okay.
Oh, I like your style.
We are go hard in that way, and there were no accounts, and I had Google alerts on all forms of her name, and all these wonderful things that parents probably maybe shouldn't do, but we did, because it was a dangerous space. But I think on the maintaining your confidence piece, I love the idea of trying something new as a confidence boost. I definitely think from a business standpoint, that was the case for me. But also just shifting how I got validation was kind of a part of that healthy season. It was like, no, I'm not standing on a stage and speaking. No, I'm not going and being present with people in the way that I had in the past. So how do I feel like I prepped for that?
How did you get your validation after that?
It was about me, which is kind of nice to recenter to, was I better than what I did the last time in my own mind, versus how much applause was there, or how much, and I don't ding external validation. Hey, we all need it, and it is a real thing in this world. But a part of the quieting of this season was having to just get right with myself. Did I prep appropriately? Did I do what I was supposed to do? Okay, I feel good about it.
Yeah. And the FOMO was gone.
Yeah?
Well,
fear of missing out?
There was no fear. What were you missing?
What were you missing?
So you really got to focus on yourself, because there wasn't all the other stuff to focus on. And I actually had gotten diagnosed with an autoimmune disease shortly before COVID, and it really was easier to focus on that in COVID, because there wasn't a lot of distractions. And so it's like, okay, well, I'll take this time just to focus on my own health. I got a Peloton. Shout out to the Peloton.
I mean, there's a tribe in Charlottesville of the Peloton people.
Oh, totally.
I got the knockoff.
Oh, it was so great. Luckily, I got it right before. I got it in December, so right before COVID, because it was hard to get one after.
Yes.
But I do think it gave everyone a chance to kind of focus on themselves. But in general, my confidence through COVID, I think, came from having some community. So with lots of walks in the neighborhood, and my best friend from when I was 2 years old, she and I started talking on the phone regularly. We'd always been in close contact, but it became much more frequent. And so, and of course, my parents, and just staying really connected to people in a different way. But
do you feel like you've always been like out there, or has it developed with time?
I was using Zoom. I should have invested in Zoom. I could kick myself 50 times over.
Before the pandemic, you were using Zoom?
Years before the pandemic.
Really?
No
I used it for
way.
my business. That's how I did webinars, and I used Zoom for quite a while. So I taught people how to use Zoom. I taught Martha Jefferson Hospital. Someone over there was like, we're trying to connect to the moms. I'm like, let's get on my Zoom account. And she jokes now, because they do all these motherhood things on Zoom, and she's like, to think that you had to show us how to use Zoom.
That was your first business model.
Yeah. Right?
So I was ahead on
Workday
Zoom, and I should have
implementation,
invested.
Zoom implementation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, to be consistent with my diversity, equity, and inclusion space, I just said something. I called the Peloton folks a tribe, and I am trying to scrub my language of using terms related to underrepresented populations in ways that they weren't intended. So I'm backing off of that tribe piece. I'm making my correction, and I'm going to say the Peloton people are a force of a group to be reckoned with in Charlottesville.
They are a force.
How about the screen time topic that's coming in our kids in screen time, and whether that is something that we're worried about?
I mean, epic fail of COVID.
Right?
Epic fail of COVID.
Before we go down that road, Lisa Watson can pasa, she's watching.
Lisa,
She says, hey ladies, you guys rock. Kelli and Elizabeth have been so supportive of our family as we just had our second baby. And then she says, kick-ass women on the feed right here. CVille Weekly watching the broadcast as we speak. Kyle Douty.
Oh, my brother-in-law.
Says he has a question. I said, Kyle, bring the question. Come on, Kyle.
Did he say he's coming for dinner?
Kyle, are you coming for dinner? You can put that in the feed as well. So on LinkedIn, Grayson is asking about, and I'm going to paraphrase this for you, Grayson, screen time and kids. Just open-ended with that.
It sounds like I have a different perspective than from just what I've heard during the conversation so far.
All right, dive in.
Yeah.
Well, not perspective. Just for our household, I try to limit it, but at the same time, it's like when I'm working or the baby's doing something, we need it. I need it. I guess I should say. I shouldn't speak for everybody.
She doesn't have a pair.
That's
so
right.
I think there's a different level of complexity there. Like my 5 and 7 can get sent to do a thing, like go outside, don't come back, or go upstairs, don't come back, or whatever it is. You have one.
And she is really good. I will say, going back to that single parent thing and working, she has adjusted very well to being alone or doing that play, imaginary play, in her playroom with her Barbies by herself. She's really good at that. But, the attention span of kids, it's only so long. And especially like after school or we did try and limit it, when they were on Zoom all day, but especially now that she's back in school, running around, when she comes home sweaty and just like she just needs some of that decompression time, it's like, I let her,
Let's be real. Storybots, I know every storyline from memory because I hear it play in the background. Like, I think COVID, at least in my corner of the world, just got the best of us on some things. We were not about the screen time, but when you're all there all the time, doing all the things, sometimes you need all the break.
Yeah, we went in on a lot of screen time early on. Remember when we thought we were coming home for like 2 weeks?
Oh, wasn't that cute?
So cute.
That was
so. It's like,
cute.
okay, everyone just needs to like
What are we
down.
gonna do for
We're
2
working.
weeks?
For 2
The
weeks.
screen can help us watch the kids. Just for a couple weeks, we're gonna break all the rules, and then I don't know, like 6 weeks in, we're like, when is the summer baby starting? Kids in front of the screen. We just in general, we totally broke every rule we ever had for screen time in the pandemic. But in general, once we got into school, the screen does not bring out the best of my children. Oh. So for no other reason that it turns them into little monsters, we even came to a rule of no screens Monday through Thursday.
Oh, that's good.
And I tell parents this all the time because this can affect sleep. Screens can really affect sleep, everyone. That these sort of things are terrifying to implement, but then once you implement them, people fall into line. So initially for a week, it's like, what? Are you really sticking to that? What? And they push and push and they complain, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm punishing myself is how it feels like what you're doing. But then it was so much better. So I do limit, like this summer, we're trying to do 2 hours a day max. And yesterday I cheated because I was in the middle of something. And so I'm like, I'm just going to let him keep going for another 30 minutes, But I have to limit screen time because it makes my kids act a little crazy, and then it makes me act crazy.
I feel like a hypocrite, though, because I work from my phone, right? So it's like, I feel like I've got to do the posting, I've got to respond, I've got to build those connections. So, but I have noticed, and this is like full transparency, where she'll be like, Mom's on her phone again, and she's noticing it. And then I'm just like, oh.
You feel guilty?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Mom guilt all the time about everything, right?
But mom guilt's alive and well.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about mom guilt then.
Mom guilt.
Yeah.
Mommy, you're always working. Why do you work so much?
Well, this is how we pay for
This
those
is how we
clothes
pay for all
in
the
this
things.
house.
Well, then, can you get someone else to do it? That's not how life works.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's good lessons for them, and having that conversation about, I was at the age where we can have that conversation about money and budgets and where does this come from and why can't I get this poppet and can I get 3 more poppets for my friends? I didn't even know what a poppet was until
we just got a poppet. I just heard about poppets.
Enlighten me, please. What is a poppet?
It is ridiculous, but they push little buttons. I don't know.
It's almost like the equivalent of like when you get a drink from McDonald's and you push the thing
Oh,
down.
is it the thing that's like not it?
It's like a silicone.
Yes, and you go boop, and then you flip it over and go boop. And why is that
like
so important?
It's like the new fidget spinner.
Okay.
And then there's this whole underground, which I forgot. It took me back to when I was a kid. But the underground like trading at school
of the poppets,
where she came home with one, and I'm like, where did you get that? And, well, so and so gave it to me, and I'm like, well, what is missing from our house?
Isn't that one of your favorite parent questions? I'm always like, where did this come from?
Yes.
And they get this look like you weren't supposed to notice that you didn't buy this object. I'm like, please return it to wherever it came from. But my friend, but the school. I'm like, this
I'm
is
sure
not
I can
ours.
keep it.
And
Right,
there's
like,
that,
no.
going back to the guilt, there's like so-and-so has this, and we've really tried to limit the gifts. I had the mom guilt, single parent guilt of, oh, well, I have this at my dad's. And it's like, well, you got to get it here, or we need to get you something else. And I fell into that trap for a bit. And I will say that it's one thing that my husband's really helped me with as like that outside perspective is, why is she getting gifts on like a Tuesday? It's not her birthday. And so we've tried to limit that and make her earn it and learn about money and stuff. But that definitely played into, I don't want to have that over spoiled kid, so
Yeah.
it's that balance of the guilt versus.
I always think if you just think about everyone experiences it. So whether you're working or not working, no matter what you're doing, I've yet to meet a mother who has not experienced mom guilt. I see it in my own mom sometimes. She talks about stuff she did to us when we were kids. I'm like, let it go. Like, did you do something that gave you this autoimmune disease? Possibly, but who cares? You did the best you could.
It's a real dagger.
No, she's like, this is something you ate when you were a kid. Like, I don't
My
care
mom
how
did the
old
same
your
thing
kids.
when I got allergies as an adult.
Oh,
yes,
my
the
goodness. Correct.
guilt.
She didn't breastfeed me. That's definitely why I have allergies. So I just think it doesn't matter who you are, the guilt is there. So when you think about it that way, it's like, well, it wouldn't matter what I would do, there's going to be guilt. So again, you're doing the best you can with what you know in that time. And I just, when I feel it coming on, I try to remind myself, like, this usually the stuff I feel guilty about, like the working. Why are you always working? I will get that. Why are you always working? Even though I've accommodated my whole day to not only work when they're in school or whatnot. But then next thing I know, they're like, we're starting our own business. We're going to do X, Y, Z. We're going to be like mommy and do this. Or I'm going to take over mommy's business. And I think,
You're like,
oh,
I'm
okay.
doing something
Look at
right.
that.
So, I mean, all kids make their parents feel guilty, I think. And no matter what you do, you're going to have mom guilt. And so you have to kind of let it flow over you and by and let it go.
Or turn it into a point of pride. Like with the no phone thing, it became like a badge for James and me. We were like, yeah, we're that hard. Yeah, we don't do phones. Yeah, she's
I
16.
like that.
We don't care. And now
Mine
it's-
are already asking for phones.
Yeah,
I'm
just
like,
saying.
you are crazy.
Well, I shouldn't tell anybody what to do, but we just said no. And then
Oh, I will
the
say
other
no.
thing
Don't
is,
worry, I'm good at that.
our 7-year-old is like, why am I the one who always brings books as the gift to the birthday party? Because books are a gift to the mind.
And to the parents.
She's like, but it should be Legos. And I'm like, no.
And
no.
it's funny what they pick up on. Like Isla is starting to understand too, because we have not a no social media rule. I'm all over social media, but my kids aren't. So I don't do the kids on social media. And so
Oh, you don't post your
we
children
don't
on?
post, no.
I've noticed that.
So
Yes.
What's the
interesting.
thinking with that? Just safety?
My kids do
Yes.
Tip Tuesday.
I think, but I'm such a hypocrite because I love looking at other people's kids' pics. For me, my sister actually started it, and I was so mad. And I was so proud of my nieces. I wanted to post them everywhere. I thought it was the lamest thing ever. And I didn't understand it until I had kids. And if somebody asked me, I'll text you a picture, or somebody messages me, oh, let me see the kids. I do that. But I think further down the road for me, and it's like when somebody is like, if one of them is going to apply for a job, do I want their entire existence to be able to be Googled?
Found.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is the safety, and I struggle with it. I struggle with it because they're the most important things in my life, right? And I want to share them with the world.
That takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
It
To not
does.
post your children on social media. and all.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a lot of discipline.
That's the one when you were speaking of like badge of honor and stuff, that's the one
That's
I
a
kind
big
of
one.
work.
Yeah.
It is, because we post everything, but I do try and find ways to incorporate them. Maybe her voice is in the background, or sharing a piece of artwork that she's done, or funny quotes, because this kid says the most ridiculous stuff, and I'll post a quote on social media. And so I feel like people then get to know her in those ways, but just not what she looks like.
Love it.
This is coming in
Love
from
it.
Twitter from Ginny. She says, love the roundtable. Jerry, can you ask the ladies about starting their own business and whether or not they're going to vaccinate their children and why?
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So
big and go
All the way. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah. So how about we go this road? Because this is something, what you said, I'm sure is resonating with Lauren, who's watching right now, about our little boy is not vaccinated yet. So like you said initially, when I got the Johnson & Johnson and she got her second shot, I was like, let's go. We're hitting happy hour. We're foodies. We want to go back to dinner. Let's go to Zocalo. Let's go to Tavola. She's like, yo, slow your roll, dude. Trey is not vaccinated here, okay? And he's our number one. So let's figure this out. I want to go out too, she said, but Trey needs to be safe. So how about
Women
this?
are so mature.
Oh, she's way more mature than I am.
Look at us women.
There's a 5-year age gap. I'm older, and I still think she's way more mature than I am. Duh. You're
Science.
Exactly right. I know, we know that. Vaccinating kids, young kids. Do we want to go down that road? Anything you guys want to offer?
I don't know enough to speak on it, so I'll defer to you, ladies.
This is a touchy subject here.
Yes.
It is a
Yeah.
touchy subject. Again, I don't think there's a right answer. I would like to vaccinate my kids. I had a unique response to the vaccine that I won't talk about, but I'm fine. And it made me wonder about potential, particularly having daughters, what it would mean. And I cannot get answers, no matter how many phone calls I make. And so I'd like to see that play out. And I think it will.
Okay.
And so I would like to vaccinate my kids. I might not be the earliest adopter.
So you're saying with more time, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I might want
Fair.
to see it play out a little bit, or maybe my specific question get answered, but
Sure.
Yeah, so-
KB?
So we had a big debate in our house when
You and
they
James?
opened up, James and I, when
Okay.
they opened up the trial for children. Because
Oh, we got asked to be
we've
in that as well.
always been
Yeah.
the people who've said Black and Latinx folks are not a part of enough research, whether it's medical or other things, and we're an active part of the psychology programs that happen at UVA. We always have our kids participate, and then this came along.
Was this for under 12 years of age?
It was.
Okay.
And so we had this unique window, and I was like, I mean, the little one has some stuff that is an issue we can't with him, but what about the girls? And it was a moment because we rarely have any kind of disagreement about those things. And he was like, maybe not right now. So for us, that was a real thing. But going forward, as soon as the 5 and 7-year-old can get the vaccine, they'll be vaccinated. We'll do that.
Sure.
And then little dude, as much as we want to get him vaccinated.
How old's little dude?
He's 2.5.
Okay.
He has some curious medical stuff that I think we will take a little care.
Okay.
It may not be long, but I don't think he'll be the day one kid. Those girls, when they open up at Piedmont Pediatrics, we will be right there saying, Dr. Shower, please.
Give him the shot.
Give it to
Do
him.
we think that it's going to be part of school requirement? Like you got what? Chicken pox?
I mean,
polio?
if
I'm
they
so
can tell
interested to
us that
see.
we need to have the shot for our kids that controls whether they get HPV, I would, to some degree, hope with a level
That's
of
how I feel.
parity
That's how I
that they
feel.
would ask for this. Not that I really wanted the HPV shot to be
Yeah.
required, but
Sure.
I mean,
that's required in school.
oh yeah,
I didn't know
What?
that.
Schools, yeah,
Oh yeah,
certain
some
schools.
schools they come and call and call and call. So we went through that with our 19-year-old.
Public
I
and
didn't know
private,
that.
or either
What's it called?
public or private, or both, or
The school that bugged us to death about it for my 19-year-old was a private school.
Okay.
But it was attributed to like a, state Department of Health
Oh.
kind of expectation on the immunization list, and we don't qualify for like, what is it, religious exemption or
Right,
medical
right,
exemption.
right.
We don't do any of those things and wouldn't claim them. So
But public school does, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have, my kid's not in school yet. Is it not chicken pox, polio, that is required?
There's definitely some that are required. I
I
don't know
forget it
which
because
ones.
we've done all of them, and
Uh-huh.
you just sort of bring the sheet. They
Right.
ask
Right,
for
right.
it. They
Yeah.
need to know
The
they've
proof of
had it.
X.
Yeah.
So I would think, to her point, and you guys jump in, if the school is asking for these proof of vaxes, chickenpox, polio, whatever it is,
MMR.
Wouldn't they do the pandemic too, COVID?
Well, that'll force everyone's hand.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts?
I can envision, obviously the colleges are doing
The
it.
college, UVA's doing it.
So,
Yeah, they're not playing.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Work, every job seems to be doing it a little bit differently, but some places are like, tell us you've been vaccinated, an attestation. Other places are like, you can upload your photo through this form of your white card. I mean, it's in our lives.
Right. So Riley on Instagram for you guys, Jerry, bring up cocktails, wine, and cider, and how I've had more to drink than ever before during COVID. Are the ladies experiencing this as well?
Never, no, definitely not. No. Maybe.
I'm not a huge drinker.
Are you right?
I say this, and I showed up yesterday with a cooler full of booze to our ladies' pickleball night. I'm usually like, I'll bring the party, but I'm not a big drinker.
Look at you,
So you
bringing
just
the
peer
party,
pressure
egging
other people
I
to
know,
drink.
I know, it's bad. Sorry.
And then-
Now I know your ways.
That's sketchy.
No, she's just partying out.
I just like everybody
It
to
doesn't
have
party.
fun, and I'm very sensitive to stuff, so I try to live a clean life, guys.
So I actually went a long time. So yes, the drinking picked up, but then I went all last summer without any drinking because of trying to focus on my health. Now it's back, but yeah. So I actually did a whole bout of lockdown with no alcohol.
Very impressive.
Impressive. Yeah.
I think I went 10 weeks.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went,
but
I went
generally
10 months
speaking,
last year, so.
It's
I
a
actually
whole
said
different
to someone,
deal.
this is the longest I've ever gone, and they're like, except for your 2 pregnancies. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You kind of like.
It is one of
block
those
that
things,
out.
though, when you can't have it, you want it more, though, so.
Well, I will confess that it was quite a change in the way that we approached the alcohol. I will say that we usually had this one big trip to the Costco where you got all the things for the month. And there was, a case thrown in there of something, usually. And then COVID happened, and it was like, who's going to get the almost pallet of beverages from,
The orange palette.
Exactly. Shout out to Devil's Backbone. They put gin and tonic in a can during COVID. It was
saw
my
that.
favorite
Oh,
thing
wow.
that happened. And everywhere around you was like, let's have a work drinks at 4:00.
Happy hour Zooms.
Your friends are
The happy
gathering
hour
for the
Zooms
happy
were
hour
funny.
Zooms. It was a thing. There were fundraisers over Zoom. People porch dropped you curated charcuterie
Right.
trays with
Wow.
bottles of wine
You got
and
good
beer.
friends, man.
I'm just saying, it was a hard season to resist.
There you go. How about this from Tyler on Twitter? Jerry, it sounds like all 3 ladies started their own business during COVID.
Yes.
My wife
yours
did
was
the
before.
same, and she says starting a business during COVID was tough at first, but in retrospect was the perfect time to start her consulting firm. Who wants to start with that?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I actually started my business 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
But it really picked up in COVID. But I know a lot of people who started their business in COVID because I think to your point, Kelly, the fear was gone. Like, what did you have to fear anymore? If not now, then when really kicked in. But yes, I'll let you
Totally.
guys dive in on the COVID start.
What do you think?
I actually started, and this isn't my business. I do social selling with Green Compass. It's an organic CBD company. And I started it during the pandemic on maternity leave because I just felt like, not that I had all of this free time, but I didn't have my 9 to 5 going on too. And
Maternity
I was like,
leave is not vacation.
it is not. It was hard work. But I did have a little bit of that free time, I guess, where I'm not on the clock for my 9 to 5 to post a little bit more and see what the interest was out there. And for me, it allowed me to dedicate, and I had mentioned this before, I feel like I sucked a lot out of my friends and my relationships, in the years prior. And this allows me to build those relationships and give back because the product that I'm working with CBD, it just really does help people of all ages. And I love hearing these success stories. So that's what got me motivated to continue it beyond maternity leave and as we get out of COVID too. So it's nice because now we're able to start doing some of our in-person events again. We were doing everything, we were growing everything over the Zoom calls and launch parties online, but sometimes that doesn't have the same impact as, getting the products in your hands, seeing them, feeling them, so it's been good.
Going to a festival, sitting under a tent.
I did do that.
That was awesome. I will say that, the time was right during COVID because life was happening in a way that people around the world were witnessing it through their televisions and other screens in unprecedented ways. George Floyd's murder was a real galvanizing moment for many people, and at a minimum, a moment of awareness. And so my work is in that space. And people who thought everything was okay, or thought we were in a post-racial society, or whatever it is they thought, had this sudden realization that there's things afoot. And the summer of protests, all that kind of stuff, made people think we need information and education. And so the demand happened, and there was a confluence of things. Like the demand happened, and I was at home, not on a plane. So I had time outside of my 9 to 5 to carry messaging and opportunities and partner with people to help them in that space.
Very nicely done. We'll close. So we're 70 minutes in.
What?
Yes, 70 minutes in.
That
We
went
will
fast.
close with a final word from each of you. We will start with you. Before we close with the final word, you got a lot of mamas watching. So maybe you want a word of encouragement, empowerment, confidence, self-awareness, a moving forward type of word. Before we do, your brother-in-law answered your question. He said he is not coming over for dinner. And can you please bring some Diet Dr. Pepper home with you? He was obviously joking with you right now, Kyle.
Is he? I have to stock the house for both of them. So.
So why don't we go, Kelli Palmer? You get first crack.
All right. I think I'll say that from one mom to any of those that are out there, that the folks that you see sitting around this table are at a point in a journey, and there were many points before, and there'll be many points after. And because we're able to sit up here and joke with each other and chat with Jerry and exude whatever confidence or joy or concerns that we do, this hasn't always been easy. It doesn't always look like this, but there's a choice in how you see falling, and there's a choice in how you see moving forward, and you can choose it, and maybe not all at one time. So I was an awesome mom in the last year in ways I had never been before, but I may not be that same mom. I may be a more awesome business person next year, because having it all is possible, but perhaps not at once.
There you go. That was poignant. Well said, KP.
Let's end it now.
We should just stop right
No,
there.
you gotta go.
No, that was very well said. I was going to speak to seasons, and that life is full of seasons. And when I think about motherhood, I think there's been many seasons. So some that are very, very challenging, some that are awesome. And whatever season that you are in, I have no doubt you're doing the very best you can, and that you're an awesome mom, and that we should all support each other.
Yes.
I'm a big believer in that. So when one of our mom friends is down, step in to give them a little help, because your season will come. They will help you.
I like that. The seasons metaphor.
Lovely.
Yes.
Good. Very nicely said.
Similar sentiment. I'm gonna speak specifically to the new moms out there,
Yeah.
because it is hard, and we know it is hard. It's hard for your other kids. It's hard on your relationship. But just know that it gets better, and don't listen to the people that are trying to come in. And it is okay if you are not able to give everything right now. Your time will come back later where you will be able to support others and give back, and just take what you need right now from your friends, your family, and enjoy those little babies. And call Allison.
Yeah.
Call Allison.
Because my baby sleeps now because of her.
Fantastic. You guys are amazing. This was
Thank
fun.
you.
Thanks for
You were
having us.
amazing.
So fun. I'll tell you what, for those that are asking, the show will be archived online on ilovecville.com. We will also archive it on all the social media platforms known to mankind or womankind. Watch it in totality. I think the show embodied qualities of empowerment, of self-confidence, bullish mentalities, but also qualities of understanding that not every day is easy, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. So for Kelli and for Elizabeth and Allison, my name is Jerry. This is the I Love CVille Show, where we try to showcase the best of Charlottesville and Central Virginia on something that is becoming an addiction, smartphone. Okay? We will see you at 3 o'clock with our animal focus show, What's Barking Local. Thank you for joining us on a gorgeous day in the Commonwealth. Take care. Nicely done, ladies. You were amazing. You were amazing as well. You were amazing.
I'm sweating. My hands are
Jay Dawes is going to get your picture here.